most important thing that's come out of the NICE Hub in terms of its impact on the work that I do, that many of my colleagues do across government, is that it's really helped to make what's happening within academia and within industry visible and tangible. So we've got a much better understanding of who to go and talk to if we think there's a problem within a certain supply chain or sector. We've also got a much better understanding of what some of the solutions might be to solving those problems, because there's now a network and there's a place to go and there's a knowledge hub. So I think all of those things have had a really profound impact on government's ability to engage with the circular economy.
I see the major impact of the NICE programme being how you bring together generalists in circular economy who really get the big picture and a lot of those cross-cutting themes with some deep sector specialists. And what's been really interesting when you've kind of thrown them in the room together, and the learning in both directions of kind of how do you consider the broader impacts down to what are the real tricky nuances of a particular sector, and not just assuming because it works in one sector it's going to work the same in others.
Yeah, so I think the Circular Economy Hub and the NICE programme have had a number of really beneficial outcomes that we can look at. So the first is that they have reinforced this idea that we need to take a system approach when we're thinking about circular economy. The second is about the interdisciplinary nature. So it's not just about business, it's not just about technology. Those are important parts, but it's also about behaviours and the soft elements about how we make this an attractive proposition. And it's got to be attractive to businesses, to investors, but also to the general public.
I think the major impact of the CE Hub and the NICE programme, from my point of view, would be the collaboration piece. So working across sectors and industries has been incredibly insightful and valuable for us at the Circular Textiles Foundation, and really increased our kind of engagement and awareness of what's going on in the industry. I think also having the CE Hub in Exeter, in a kind of regional area very close to where we're based, has been brilliant. Kind of understanding the broad range of organisations and work that's going on across the country, and not being so kind of London-centric, has been really valuable for us.
The major impact of the NICE programme from a UKFT perspective, from a fashion and textile industry perspective, has been the opportunity to develop an EPR system, to take the proposals for a new EPR system to government. Very basically what we did is we were very grateful to some very big industry partners, including people like New Look and Marks and Spencer's, who gave us unprecedented access to their data. What we were looking for is whether the data exists in the industry currently to make an intelligent EPR system work. And what do I mean by an intelligent EPR system? Basically, a system that rewards the good, penalises the bad, that would reward durability, that would reward a retailer, for instance, that had a repair service or a collection service. And we looked at over 500,000 types of product, which meant that we looked at over 200 million different individual items. And we found that the data was good enough for us to develop an EPR proposal to take to government that would say, we can do this as an industry. This is achievable, this could raise significant amounts of money, and that money could then be driven back into the industry to drive circular economy developments. A real life opportunity to really shift the dial, and that came about through the NICE programme.
The NICE programme is really established as an experiment to raise the discussion, awareness of the circular economy as a debate. But it's also allowed us to understand that circular economy is really a shorthand for many different kinds of language about, if you like, circularity, or what you might describe as mutual benefit. I think for NICE, the circular economy as a programme had huge ambitions. One was to collaborate with government, not to treat government as a client, and I think to try and not to boil the ocean is a very tricky thing to try and achieve. And I think one of the things that we agreed quite early is collaborate where you can. Approach the open doors, really, as a starting point. I think the second is just what we all mean by collaboration and what we actually all mean by the circular economy. So that that sense of a wider an understanding that leads to what I would describe as show beyond tell.
I think in order to make that shift towards a circular economy for medical devices, we're going to really need really good evidence and research to be able to identify the areas where we want to prioritise, what the costs and benefits are. The Spotlight report that the CE Hub and NICER have published has very much helped in bringing medtech to the fore in terms of circular economy, where there wasn't necessarily that spotlight before. So we've very much used that as an evidence base to garner more support for the Design for Life programme, and we're very excited to see what further research comes from that.
From my perspective, one of the challenges of the vista within these areas is that there's lots and lots of work going on, but it needs to be disseminated, it needs to be shared. And when the hub is talking about some of the topics, you don't know what people's problems are, what their challenges are in their organization or business. Therefore, that interface, that sharing of information is key. So actually that seed can be planted and can grow into something that actually creates value and becomes more circular. Because at the end of the day, what we're all trying to do is create a more sustainable society.
The NICER program has definitely created the community. It has definitely improved the profile of the circular economy overall beyond academia, because we all had to engage with industry. We have spent a lot of time, a lot of us actually educating the industry, which is also really, I suppose, a move forward. And it have given us the opportunity to start quantifying some of these really difficult supply chains, understanding, the systems, understanding where circular economy interventions may take place. So yeah, I think overall NICER has been very successful. Also the fact that we've looked at so many different material flows that has been really, really useful, because you can see that for different materials there is a requirement for different approach to take place. And it would be nice just to see something to follow on from that.
I think the major impact of this program, from my perspective, has just been the sheer interdisciplinarity that it's been able to bring to bear on this topic, and the focus that it's managed to bring to what could be really quite a disparate agenda. I think bringing all of that together, bringing all of these conversations and connecting them in such a powerful way has been the main impact.
The really good thing with the NICER program is that they've been able to bring everyone together. So national policymakers, local policymakers, working with people like us, the large businesses, the small businesses, the innovators, all in one place. One great project we've done with them is we've worked with UCL as part of the Textile Circularity Centre to develop a material flow analysis of textiles in London. And that was a very good way to just engage local policymakers, local organizations, local communities in changing the way we see how we consume fashion, how we consume clothes, and kind of help them define and see where the hotspots were, where we could act and take practical action.
There are lots, and other people will talk to you about the impacts that have been more generally in the scientific area or the policy area or all of those kind of things. For me, whose job it is to try and get research funding for circular economy, I think one of the biggest impacts is changing the conversation. So many more people are talking about it, and not just in direct areas, but we fund research in new semiconductors, quantum technologies, quite broad things, and they're starting to talk about it as well. And I think that's been a huge transition that's not just about NICER, but NICER being a big part of pushing.
So the NICER program, or the CE Hub in particular, we started working with them because we specifically wanted somebody from outside to look at our business without the sort of preconceptions of being involved with particularly the flood risk management industry for some years, and to be able to question some of the approaches we took. And I guess from some of the areas we might seek advice from in the past, I guess there's a sense in which they want to see themselves in the answer. And one of the great things about CE Hub, they were bringing that wealth of circular economy experience from other sectors, including other bits of the public sector, and we're bringing that into our organisation, but it was without a vested interest, and so they're able to provide that independence of advice that we're really looking for.